is Miss Rebecca at the Searcy Public Library. And this is Miss Michelle, and she works at the front desk out there. And Miss Michelle Andrews, that's her name. And then we are going to be doing paper mache today. Now, we decided to do this project because a lot of you are going to be inside for a very long time, probably through the summer or whatever. So we thought about making a project that you could work on throughout the summer, a little bit every week as a family. Or, if you needed a project for a history project or to an art project for the summer, this would be a great thing to do when you have a lot of time. Paper mache is not easy, is it, Miss Michelle?
It is not. It's kind of tedious. It takes some time. You need to let it dry between layers. But
yeah, so it's a project you can do starting now for the next couple weeks, however long it takes to make your item. So we looked up paper mache, like the history of it, because we didn't know how long it had been around. And I found out that it's been around since 200 BC in China. And they used to, under the Han Dynasty. And they came up with, I guess, this process of shredding paper, like cutting it up or chewing it up or mashing it up or pulping it. And then mixing it with either glue, starch, or wallpaper paste. And then you put it on in layers, or you mash it all together. We're not doing the paper mache pulp. We don't have the stomach for that. That's a lot of work to get it pulped anyway. But if you want to go there for history purposes, you go right ahead. We're going to do strips. We did paper strips or paper pieces. So ours was this method. And I found out that it's been used in a lot of different countries for different things. The Egyptians used to use it with textiles to wrap, people up for mummification and make sarcophaguses and all kinds of cool items. And then in Kashmir, they used it for making like little jewelry boxes or plates. They also did that for, most of the Middle East has all these little ornate little trinkets, and those are all paper mache usually. So Europe, the Middle East, they all had this paper mache industry for a while. Russia actually made it really ornamental and really ornate. You get your Tiffany items after that from Russia that they came up with, And then I guess in 1725 in Europe is when they came up with paper mache as a construction item. They would use it to make ornate decoration during the Baroque times around doorways and make frames. So it wouldn't be so heavy, it could stick to the wall, and then they could paint over it and it'd look like the real deal of wood carvings, Mexico also uses this, they call it cartonera or carton pedra, either one. And that's their version of paper mache. And they make little trinkets and a lot of plates, like big plates. They'll make designs on the wall. Those big, have you seen those little sun things?
I have one.
Those are really pretty. And they make that out of paper mache. Also found out that they used to use in the military, they used to make fuel tanks out of paper mache and drop it off the aircraft. And it would just fly away and disintegrate after they dumped their fuel tanks.
That's cool.
And that was during World War II. They also used it in World War II to make, out of boxes, they would make fake tanks and fake soldiers and all kinds of cool things as decoys. Did you know that?
I did not. And don't forget piñatas from
Oh,
Mexico.
yeah. You got your piñatas. And then there's also, you can add textiles to it like the Egyptians did and make a pretty solid item. They also, if you take your cardboard, look, if you have a box, this is an example of something that paper mache turned into in the modern world. Because they took all this paper and made cardboard, and that's a form of paper mache.
Mm-hmm.
Or you also have paneling. I found out, like plywood and paneling, they just took that concept with paper and modified it for wood or whatever they want to make layers and stick it together. It all came from paper mache ideas. So that's pretty cool. Paper mache is more in our life than we know, because think about how many times we use cardboard for things, to make things. So when we use the cardboard to make our stuff for the paper mache, it's already prefabbed a little bit. So, and what can you make out of paper mache? We have all these things that we can make. We came up with some ideas so that y'all would know. You don't have to make what we're making. You can make whatever you want.
You can make anything. Miss Rebecca's going to use a beach ball for a form for something. And I was telling her yesterday it would be cool to cover the beach ball in paper mache and to get some string and hang a little basket or a little cup under it and make a hot air balloon once you paint it and decorate it and stuff. And it would be a fairly easy project. The big secret there is if you're doing something with a rounded surface, to use little pieces of paper, because if you use really big strips, they want to crinkle up. You could make masks out of paper mache. You can even take an old Halloween mask and cover it in paper mache and repaint it and totally repurpose it. You can make an Egyptian sarcophagus.
Yeah, if you're studying Egyptology.
That would be fun.
Or the Bible, you can make one of those Arks of the Covenant. Yeah, I did that one time for a project for school.
Dolls, puppets, fairy houses, fairy hats, or fashion hats, Barbie furniture.
And I also saw online this girl had taken and made a costume. The skirt she made out of paper mache. So
oh wow,
she made a costume for Halloween. It was actually for Comic-Con. She made a skirt, the Deathstar skirt, because I was looking up Deathstar, so that's how we got to that. But you can make all kinds of fashion items out of that for costumes or everyday wear. All them steampunk and cool items like that. You can use paper mache to make your stuff with.
For now though, with a simple project, you could get like a little gift box that has the top and the bottom. You could cover both parts with paper mache, and then you could decorate those to make a trinket box, like you said, to hold.
Yeah, the Russian, those are, and you could put gold leaf. You can make it as fancy as you want to. If you put a lot of lacquer on it, you can have the lacquered painted boxes like they have in Russia. So whatever you want to make, it's the Star Wars May 4th week. So you can make a Star Wars item, or it's Mother's Day next week.
You can make Mom a present.
You can make Mom a present if you get started. If you're going to make Mom a present for Mother's Day, I would suggest making a small item. And we had a lot of time on our hands.
We did.
We bit off a little bit more than we could chew, honestly. But we made some examples of cool things you can make for your house or your room or whatever. And what did you make, Michelle?
Well, you suggested, since I have cats at home, that I might want to make a cat house for them to play with. And you told me to go online and look at cat houses. And I kind of bit off more than I could chew, because they had little simple cat houses. And instead, show the finished project?
Yeah, you can show them what you made.
I chose to make an RV cat or a VW cat house for my cats. So I took a cardboard box and trimmed the front part off. And folded it back and cut out the windshield and cut out the windows and the door. I did not cut out the back side because I'm going to put it against a wall at home. And I've already taken it home and my cats have already played in it, and we'll show you some of that later. Once I got the box cut down to size, we covered the whole thing in paper mache. Came back and painted it and glued on the wheels and the VW symbol and the headlight. was a lot of work. That's a lot of paper mache to cover something this big. I suggest you start with something a whole lot smaller.
Perfect your technique and then move on to a bigger item like this.
My cats love it. They got a little magnet bra on it back.
So you got your little door and your little cat can go in there. Go in the door. Look, see. I'll sit in here. Look, and it's happening. Staying in the little cat house here. So you got that. I have been saving some items around the library because I wanted to make a specific display for the library. In here I have a lot of Star Wars items. I also have a lot of, things that a lot of patrons that like Star Wars. So I've been saving items since last year, the Star Wars Day, some items that I could use to make things. So I came up with the Deathstar. We made out of a beach ball here. We have a beach ball. We blew up and made this item. You also might need a party tray to do this insert part. So those are the only two things that you really need for this. And then you'll need, here's this item. This is my X-Wing. And these are not paper mache yet. So I made them where you could see how I put them together. So they're a little flimsy, but we're gonna put paper over them so it'll be a lot stronger. So I used a paper tube, like a paper towel roll, and then I used four toilet paper rolls and a pizza box and a cereal box. So you do whatever you got to make cardboard out of. I mean, you could use a box itself and cut it down. You just really need the cardboard and the toilet paper rolls, some tape. I would suggest some hot glue just to make it start. I should have used hot glue. It would have been a lot easier to construct. I also used 2 pipe cleaners on the top to make a little shape for my droid that goes in my X-Wing. So you can paper mache over that afterwards and make it like for real, whatever droid you want to use. So there's the X-Wing that we're doing. Okay. Now, we also have TIE fighters. And we used a balloon, 2 water bottles, and I've been saving these brackets. I had about 7 or 8, well maybe six saved up in the closet, and they were taking up a lot of space. So I wanted to use those. They were pretty sturdy and lightweight that I could use for the ends of this. You can use cardboard if you don't have these. You can just use regular cardboard for that. So. that to make that. And then all of our items, of course, you need paper cut up into small pieces. You'll need rulers. We needed rulers, right?
Just a lot of rulers.
Yeah, we needed scissors. Obviously, you can have 10,000 pairs of scissors. Paint. We had liquid paint, and we had spray paint we use for everything. We had to use masking tape quite a bit. We had to use packing tape if you're having a box
To hold the boxes shut.
So we used that. We used paint brushes. You need all kinds of brushes. Big brushes, little brushes, sponge brushes. We've used like so many different kinds. Whatever you have at home is fine. You'll make it work. I would suggest getting some big brushes and some little brushes for detail work. So you just need like 2 different kinds.
And one thing you might keep in mind, if you're using thin cardboard, you can use scissors, or mom and dad can use scissors. If you're doing something heavier duty like a cardboard box, then you're going to need a box cutter
Or an X-Acto
knife, and you're going to need a parent to do that. Don't try to do it yourself. Only a parent can handle those things.
And I had to use scissors. See, this one is flimsy. So we haven't paper macheted it yet. But I used scissors to cut out this part. And when I wanted to, like, it looks like this. Let's look at this. See, I used 4 toilet paper rolls, so I had to cut those away. So I used an X-Acto knife for that. So you'd have to have your parents' help to do that part, whichever way you want to do it. So there's 2 different ways. So it's up to your design as to what you'll need. I also had to use a saw to saw off these brackets. So, and then we used a glue gun. Here's the glue gun. And then we had glue. We used a ton of glue.
Well, and you got to tell them how to make the paper mache itself with the strips of paper.
Oh, yes. Well, after you take your item, we can just get one for example. Let's take these out of the way real quick. So, like if you're making a round shape, you can use a beach ball or balloons. So, you might want to use some balloons if you have some leftover balloons from birthday parties. It doesn't matter what color, you're going to cover them up anyway. Or if you have styrofoam balls, you know, you could use a styrofoam ball. I could have theoretically used that for this, but I think it would have been too small. So that's why I did. But you could use these if you have those. You'll obviously need a lot of paper. I think that if you cut up like just plain white paper that's been printed on, you know, a lot of people have a lot of things they print and then they don't use them anymore, so they got a lot of scratch paper. Junk mail works great for this. Calendars. We had all these cards that me and Jill used for our Spanish story time, our cue cards for something that we had written Spanish on. So we even used those. And these are like cardstock. So those were good because if you use this first, it kind of makes a frame and then you can go over it with the paper. I also used a lot of tissue paper in between. Whenever you do your design, you'll want to, there's this Deathstar. See on the Deathstar. So you'll do your rough item with this regular paper or newspaper. You can use newspaper. But when you get down to the final stage, you want to use tissue paper. And I just happen to have some leftover tissue paper circles. But I also, you know, we had used this for the 4th of July, these little paper, all this paper right here. I had to save these up. We made 4th of July lanterns last year, so I had tons of this tissue paper. And for the rough spots like this is where you would use that to cover up that little rough spot to make it a little smoother. So you might have to go, I would suggest like going in between your layers of paper. You know, you'll have to use a little tissue paper to get it smooth.
And it's also really important to let it completely dry between the layers, or it's going to collapse. It's going to get too wet and it's going to mush down.
We had that problem with these when we were doing these. I didn't use hot glue the first time. I just taped it. And me and Jody and you probably were making these, and we probably had a problem with this joint. It never would solidify, and every time we get it wet, it would like cave in like this. So if you look, let's see, these are kind of off kilter a little bit. When they sit up, they're not exactly even. So we learned from our mistake, and that's why we use the hot glue gun with this one. So this one will turn out a lot better than the other ones, you know. But the TIE fighters do kind of turn in like that, so it really doesn't matter with these.
And that's one thing you're going to learn doing any craft, and especially doing paper mache. You're going to learn from your mistakes. You're going to make mistakes, and everything you make is just going to get a little bit better and a little bit better. So don't get discouraged if something doesn't turn out like you want it to. Just try it again.
And if you know you're going to be doing this, I would work with a team of people, like your family. If you have like more than one, or if you're a teenager and you're just trying this and you have a lot of time on your hands, you're just going to have to do a process of error and correction. Because I know with the TIE fighters, we had to, every time it would cave in, we'd have to reconstruct it, and then we'd have to, so there's some things you might have to do to fix your item if it gets cattywampus or whatever on you. That does happen. But if you let it dry completely, also, you'll have less chance of it molding later on. So to make the glue, you just take a whole bunch of glue and you put it in a little tray or a jar. I use the Tostitos jar a lot of the time because I could take it with me if I went somewhere. I would go home at night, so I'd take it with me. But you just pour the glue in there, and then you would do like half glue, half water. And I started out with that, honestly, just so it wouldn't be drying so fast. But on your final layer, like with my tissue paper layer that I'm going to do on this one, I'm just going to use straight glue because it's going to dry quicker, and then it'll also make it smoother. So on your outside layer, I would say to use real glue, because we even went back with yours after we painted it.
And glued down a few spots.
When you paint it, if you use spray paint or whatever you're using to paint it, you're going to notice these little imperfections where you missed sticking down the paper. So what you'll do is like paint the whole object and then go back to the little parts that you need to correct. We had to do that some on Miss Michelle's cat house. And so you're going to paint it, and maybe you'll have to fix it and then do it again. We've done that we had to do that like 4 times with these TIE fighters because they couldn't stay together right, and they were too, like, it was a little too rough. You know, there was a lot of things we had to fix about these, but I'm going to try to be more careful when I do these. Now that I know that, I'm going to just really be careful with these because these are so flimsy, but they'll be requiring more layers. And I would say also, you can also add more cardboard to it at first. I think I should have done that with my TIE fighters. We had to put so many layers of paper mache on these brackets, but we got smart the second time around, and this time we added cardboard to the ends so we didn't have to use as much paper. So the more cardboard stability you can add to it before you get started. I think we had to do that with your window. We had to add more cardboard.
Well, the thing about mine is because I was using a cardboard box for a frame, and all I did on this was cut a slit here on each side and take out that top section. And then after that, I could lean that windshield back and cut the holes in it, and then cut the door out and the windows out and all that.
We left the flaps in it though, right?
Yeah,
to make
we left
more
the flaps
stability
inside it because my cats are going to climb on top and lay down, so I wanted it to be sturdy. When you're starting out with something as rigid as cardboard and it already has the basic shape you want, it's so much easier for a first-time thing than to do something like Miss Rebecca did or like the Deathstar. We've got 1.5 layers of paper mache on.
Yeah, we didn't do very many layers on that because it was already straight.
And it was already cardboard.
If you do a round object like this, you're gonna have a lot of layers.
I was gonna say the Deathstar, you probably got 8-10 layers on there.
Well, it was uneven. Like when you take the beach ball out of the middle and you put in this insert for the Deathstar part, this little, you're gonna have to do more paper mache here, and then it's gonna be off. You know, you're gonna hold it up and you'll say, okay, it's heavier on this side than the other. So we've had to go around and do more layers because of that reason, to make it sturdy. Because I took it home a couple times.
And did some more.
Doing a lot of layers.
I don't recommend this being your first project.
No,
as
no.
cool as it is, I would not try.
This would not.
that.
I did this because I've done paper mache before. This was a hard project, and if you've already done paper mache, go ahead and do something like this. But if it's your first project,
stick with the box.
Stick with the box. Yes.
Whether it's a little box for Mama to put her earrings and jewelry in, or a big box for a cat to play in. Or for 4 cats to play in my house. It's way easier to start with a sturdy frame like a box than it is with having to do your own stuff.
Well, and when I made the Deathstar, I used this party tray to make the thing. So, like, you could use this like, if you wanted to make a little bowl for your mom. I just sprayed this down with Pam, or I covered it with saran wrap first, and then I did the paper mache on it, and I let it dry for a long time, and then I just clicked it off. It comes right off once you unstick it. It'll just all come off if it's dry as one piece. And so you have to really be patient about the drying process, and that's why we have 2 maker spaces, one for construction and one for painting, because it's impossible to do this, and you have to do this in steps. There's no way to show you like beginning to end for this in a small amount of time. So it's going to be a process of doing, redoing, and then seeing what works and seeing what doesn't. I would say do a ton of research on what you really want to make. Look at the shape of it. Look around your house for the objects that you're going to need to make. Like I had to. When I saw those brackets that we save at the library from the tape rolls, that's what those big things on the end are. I knew I wanted to make a TIE fighter. I was like, this would be perfect for that. So anyway, I've been saving them up for that reason. So there might be things that you need to save up enough of to make your item. I recycle water bottles, so I had that, and I had the balloons, I had the tape. You can use cardboard and balloons, and most people have like cardboard and paper, so whatever you can do, that saran wrap if you want to use a plate that you already have, the big party platter that you already have, you can cover that with saran wrap and go from there. So you'll have to look what you have, the age of your children, how many children you got to work on this project, what their strengths are, their weaknesses. And if it's a quick project, little project, I would say start out small if you're going to be doing little kids, and y'all just make one little box together.
You will notice Miss Rebecca has a tablecloth on the table. We have gone through several tablecloths on the table.
If you're doing paper mache, you need to have a designated space to do it. Everybody knows you got to keep it there. You're using glue.
Yep,
so you gotta be careful.
Elmer's glue is washable, but you still want to have a space to kind of keep it contained.
And I even have a box, and it has my little paintbrushes, my glue, and my little paper strips. And I just put my Deathstar in there and load it up because I've had so many layers of it. So you might want to get a little box to keep things in that you're going to need.
It is messy. I'm an adult and I'm kind of a neat freak, and I had Elmer's glue up to my elbows.
And I've got paint and glue on my hands right now, and I scrub. You gotta scrub every time. See, look, I got glue and paint from this morning. You're gonna be like that during this paper mache project. If you don't like getting dirty, this is not the project for you, right?
No.
Yeah, but we had a ton of fun, didn't you?
Oh, it was great.
We've had a lot of fun making these items, and we're gonna hang them up on the ceiling. Deathstar, the Wings X Fighters. The X-Wing fighters and the TIE fighters, they'll be hanging on the ceiling in the library when you come back. So you'll have to look for those. We worked hard on those projects. That's been a team effort. We've all had to take turns putting paper mache on the Deathstar and the TIE fighters for sure.
We've had Jody's help, Bill's help, Jill has helped.
Oh, and Heather helped, and Nikki helped, and I don't know, we've all taken turns just when we had spare time to do that. It's kind of a zen thing to do too, so you kind of get into it. Sometimes you can do it for a long time, sometimes you just have a few minutes, you can do it quickly. I would say the Deathstar is taking more time than the TIE fighters each. The TIE fighters were pretty simple construction, but as far as putting on the paper, it took a little bit of finesse. But yours, I think Michelle's was the quickest project because it was already straight. It had straight lines, and we had all the cardboard and
fairly straight
items we needed. We did use some, aluminum foil to gild it with,
Oh yeah, the headlights and the Volkswagen logo have got foil on them.
So this thing right here,
And
we had to cover with foil.
And foil works better. I found out a long time ago using silver paint, it almost always comes out splotchy. And so using the foil, the back side of the foil, because I didn't want it real shiny, works really well for that. Also, I found a magic marker that was silver that I could use just to draw the trim around the edges.
And we had that for our, you can do that for your TIE fighters. Me and Jody used this the other day after we painted it, to get the emblems and stuff on there. So, Sharpie markers work really good. Just regular markers, paint, whatever you have at home. Don't go buying anything to do this project. So, you saw Miss Michelle's all painted, but we didn't have enough time to paint all the other things we made. We've painted one TIE fighter, maybe two. We probably still need to do some little cleanup jobs on here and maybe fix the window correctly. I don't know if that's correct or not. So we'll have to get back with you next week about how we painted these items and, putting all the details on it and getting it right. So we'll have another video next week about that. Thank you for joining us this week at Makerspace. And what do you have to say about this whole Makerspace? Did you have fun doing that?
It has been so much fun. It has been a ball.
And you couldn't buy that item. I mean, I don't think you could buy that off the internet. Maybe on Etsy, but...
I had a friend offer me $50 to make one for her.
And this could be a family business. Just think about that.
No.
There's whole industries that are supported by paper mache, apparently. I didn't really know that till I went to research it. I was looking on Wikipedia under paper mache. I was like, oh, there's a lot of things you can make and sell.
Sell them on eBay.
Yes. So you can make a piñata. No, making pinatas for birthday parties has kept a lot of people in certain countries employed.
That Deathstar could be a piñata. For a Star Wars thing party.
You could use this.
You could fill it up with candy and seal it and paint it and...
You would make it a little bit thinner. I've been making it to be hefty, so when it hangs up, it's not going to wobble too much.
And make them work for it.
Well, you could do that. And I don't know if this is big enough for piñata candy, but...
They'd have to hit it with their lightsabers till they could break it.
Well, that's a good idea. If you just got to think about what you're making and what the purpose of it is. I'm taking my time with this so that I can have it as a display item. If it's something you're not going to see, you're taking that home. Mm-hmm. Your cats are the only people to see that. So we didn't spend, we didn't make it perfect.
She referred to my cats as people. They'd be so happy.
They're only going to see that. And so you have to look at who's going to see this item. If it's just made for your mom and it's for Mother's Day and she's going to put it on her shelf, you're not going to spend like 3 weeks making the item probably. Anyway, if it's stuff that you're going to see and use in displaying for the world to see, you're going to take a little more time and make it correct or you'll get in trouble. I got in trouble with my husband. Originally, I just wanted to do these TIE fighters and a Deathstar because that's all I come up with. And I get home and he's like, oh, you got to have some resistance fighters. You need an X-Wing fighter. And I was like, oh, thanks for adding to my workload, husband. So... it's like you'll come up with what you want to make and you'll find out how to do it and research it and you'll have fun with it. It's a long process.
All right. Well, thank you very much. And we had a great time and we will see you again next week.
Thank you.